What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Peanut Gallery Podcast, episode 45. Seth, what is up, man?
We're in an exciting time. By the time the next show airs,
yes,
we'll have had a Taylor Swift album, which I know you're really excited about.
And
also probably, potentially, maybe an Eminem album.
This is some big stuff going on, man.
Pretty opposite. I'm excited, though.
Also, another week happened, which means we're 1 week closer to Christmas, and I freaking love Christmas.
Yes, and I hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving last week.
Yeah, there you go.
Full steam ahead into Christmas, dude.
It's all Christmas decorations.
We gotta get a Christmas tree, man.
Dude, yeah, no, I walked into a store, and they have all their Christmas stuff up. It's pretty awesome.
They had it up for like a month, dude.
Yeah, a month.
Like as soon as it hit like
I would go Christmas tree. I've never had a real Christmas tree before. It's always
You've
been
never had a real Christmas tree?
Never had a real one.
Have you ever had a real Christmas?
Oh, it's all been fake.
Have you had a real Santa come?
No.
You are just missing out.
You've had a real Santa?
Yeah.
Wow.
Every year. He eats the cookies.
We need to talk after the show. I have something to tell you.
It's fine. It's totally cool.
All right, guys. If you didn't already know, this is the Peanut Gallery Podcast. This, of course, is the place that we provide our completely unprofessional and insignificant opinions about the most important and significant topics of the day. I'm your host, Jared, and with me, as always, is Seth, and we're going to jump right into what was nuts this week. All right, guys, we are back, and we're just going to jump right into the stories that we got to cover this week. So the first thing is we got a little bit of Google news, man.
Yeah, it's actually kind of messed up a little bit. So
a little concerning because we do a lot of things with Google Docs.
Yeah, and it's kind of been a freaking pain in the neck, dude.
Yeah, true that.
Dude, I used to love, so when Google Docs first came out and I first heard about it, I was like, I don't want Google Docs because I like Word. And then I figured out Google Docs are basically better because the
share it with
collaboration and everything, and you don't have to pay for it, and it's on every computer. But now it's come out that I think it was a couple weeks ago that a tech reviewer tweeted out that she had been locked out of her Google Docs, and was like, "What the heck? Why am I being locked out of my Google Docs?" So like Google wasn't letting her access her information, and their reasoning that what they cited was the fact that she had violated their terms of service policy of like what they allow on their sites, like harassment and stuff in her. And Google
this
Docs.
is her Google Docs,
right? That she has it. So they analyzed the contents of it,
yes,
and had locked her out.
Which did we know that? Because we know pretty much.
We know Google is watching everything.
But did you know that Google is looking at what you write on your Google Docs?
Right. So here's a very important part to delineate is that they are not like nobody is seeing your Google Docs. This is an algorithmic thing.
That'd be a boring
scanning thing. Yeah. Nobody's sitting there and being like, terrorist. Okay, click. But anyway,
this research paper is terrible.
So Google responded relatively quickly, and they put out a statement saying that this morning we made a code push that incorrectly flagged a small percentage of Google Docs as abusive, which caused these documents to be automatically blocked. A fix has been put in place, and all users should have access to their docs. So this woman got her docs back, and she's like, okay, I'm not really going to be using Google Docs anymore because if this accident happens again, I'm not going to have access to the information I need.
Yeah.
Now, they fixed the problem, good. But they totally negated the issue of the fact that they never said that we didn't mean to lock it. They totally are reserving the right to lock you out of your docs if you have things that they deem bad.
They have algorithms, some kind of AI scanning through any kind of Google. Well, she shared it, right? Didn't she share it?
So that's the other thing. There's a little bit of confusion we're trying to figure out. We think that it's only if you share it with somebody.
Not if you just open a random Google Doc and have it on your own
right, but
PC.
if I send it to you, or like, so we collaborate on these scripts and stuff, and so that would be considered sharing, and that would be scanned, and
they could find something on there that violates their conduct,
right? Because
we write just awful things on.
I know. I'm surprised I haven't been blocked already. So I mean, I kind of just proved that it's not working. No, no, but it's just kind of scary, and it's kind of one of those things that we need to step back and realize what we're doing, and the fact that a lot of times you're sacrificing security and privacy for convenience.
Oh, totally.
And I totally think we've done that.
Because Google Docs is super convenient.
I know, exactly.
I don't want a freaking AI machine reading through what we have or sifting through whatever it is. I don't know
what the point is. Like, do they think they're gonna stop bad things from happening by stopping Google? It seems weird to me.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know what the end goal is and why do they need to be doing this? Why do they need to be in control of what we write in our docs?
Because if they block it, what's the person gonna do? They're gonna open Microsoft Word and write the exact same thing that they had, and then do whatever they were gonna do with it.
It's not shareable and it's safe.
Yeah, totally.
No,
exactly.
I don't.
It can never get out on the internet.
If you're blocked, can you not download it? Because like they don't just download it. And then transfer it over. I don't know how it works.
It's just kind of like you said though, it's kind of concerning that they just came out and said, "Oh yeah, we fixed the AI."
This was an
component.
accident. We fixed it. Not we never meant for this to happen.
Yeah, we never meant to have an AI sifting through all of your personal documents on Google Drive.
I mean, they have AIs going through everything, so.
But but that's freaking weird, man. I don't want that.
I mean, but again, it's one of those things we have to think about.
Why?
People jump on this, we have a Google Doc, it's everywhere, it's so easy to use, and it's like, yes, but you understand, this is a service, it's a server-side end on Google's end that they have basically, any information you put on a Google Doc they can look through it.
Yeah, I mean, they have the right to do it.
Literally look through it, and maybe they could escalate it to physically see it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But why? What's the purpose of creating this?
Think about what if some like ISIS kids were like putting together a hit list on Google Docs, and Google Docs was able to analyze and successfully, accurately flag that.
What are they gonna do? Delete the list?
Oh my god, we forgot.
Who are we gonna kill this time?
It's something they could do maybe because you've already seen that with Facebook, right? I mean, they don't let you post. They don't let you post nudity, guns. They already censoring what you can put on Facebook, right? And sure, they're just gonna put it somewhere else. Yeah. But it's not on their platform, and maybe they feel a little bit of responsible. Maybe. But it's just something we need to be aware of. And I mean, I love.
You should know that if you're using Google Docs, there's going to be some kind of AI.
If you're using a Chromebook, everything you do because you can't use anything but it, you're screwed. So it's just something to be aware of. And I don't think it's the end of the world. It does suck that it is just slowly eroding any kind of privacy we think we have.
Yeah, like what's going to pass the line for people is what I'm wondering. Because as these services get more and more convenient, everything's super convenient. I mean, your Gmail, an email account syncs with everything that you have Google-wise. Like, everything is super convenient. Is that going to ever get to a point where people are like, you know what, this is too much a violation of my privacy. I'm going to Mozilla Firefox.
Yeah, something.
I mean, come on.
By the time it's too much, there won't be anything to go to.
Yeah.
You know? Like, because it's already pretty much, if you don't have a Gmail account, you're kind of
what do you have?
Step
like,
behind.
I guess you have Yahoo, but Yahoo, did they have any other
Yahoo's
like,
not safe at all. Yahoo's not safe at all.
Safe.
I mean, you have Outlook, you have company emails, but like Google Docs, Outlook, YouTube,
you have so much stuff that's linked with it.
Yes.
It's really hard to kind of, and once you're already in it, it's kind of hard to switch out.
Right.
You know
I'm not going back to
everything's
work still,
to it.
So.
Yeah.
It's just something to be aware of, and kind of sucks. And it's one of those. It's like, well, what do we do? I don't know. I mean, they're not going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
So I mean, they did stop going through the emails though. I need to look into that because I did hear that they did, because a while ago they announced that they were sifting through your emails to make those pre-made replies. Like it would analyze how you reply to emails, and it would give you quick responses to emails.
Oh,
really? It was actually pretty freaking good, but people were a little bit concerned about going through all their emails.
Yeah.
And they did roll that back. So maybe they will roll this back if there's enough public outcry.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? I mean, people don't really seem to care about privacy. I mean, you have people posting everything and anything and everything.
Anything and everything on Facebook and social media. Yeah. It's not really the area of privacy at all. Yeah. Well, yeah, dude, this next story is pretty cool. It's Pokemon Go, right?
Right, dude.
This is pretty big because
if anybody, pretty much I will not believe it. Like anyone that was in America when Pokemon Go came out knew and was aware that it came out. Like it was a phenomenon.
Yeah,
it was absolutely insane. I lived in Fort Lauderdale at the time, and you would literally at night you would just see tons of people roaming around at Poke's like groups, and then they'd be like, "Oh, there's a Pokemon over here." It was a phenomenon.
Dude, you heard insane stories like people literally not paying attention. One guy walked off a cliff and died because he was on his phone searching for a Pokemon.
And people are still playing. It's definitely fallen off since it first came out. But the company
that
made
guy.
Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
What?
Falling off a cliff.
Yeah, okay. Wow, that was
it's a little dark. Sorry, go ahead.
A little dark joke. Mm-hmm. But no, so the company that made Pokemon Go and is still uploading it, they just announced that they are coming out with their next game is going to be in the similar vein of Pokemon Go, but Harry Potter themed. And today they actually announced the name of it. It was called Harry Potter Wizards Unite. So I don't know what it is. We don't have any really details, but if there's some kind of phenomenon like this with Pokemon, with Harry Potter, freaking down. Do you think it'll be bigger than Pokemon?
Pokemon's huge.
Pokemon's big.
Harry Potter's also big.
But
I feel like Pokemon is huge overseas. Like there was tons of people playing it outside
Japan.
Of the US, like an insane amount of people.
So you think it might be
I think it'll be bigger in the US, but it might be less in Asia and maybe less in the world. Also, Pokemon Go was the first thing like it. So you're going to have a ton of people getting out and like, "Oh, I can walk around with my phone," which okay. But then like this is kind of second, but also, I mean, Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. What do you collect though? Like Pokemon,
So
there's obvious
I'm
things to
thinking-
collect. They have Pokemon cards. There's not Harry Potter cards.
I
You collect
wonder
wands?
because like the way it works is it uses geolocation. Actually uses an older game that they had. I forget the name off the top of my head, but it uses an older game and basically just a reskinning of that game.
Okay.
That uses GPS, augmented reality stuff.
Do you
But,
think
like-
you like collect characters?
So I'm wondering.
maybe?
I don't think you're. I don't know if you're collecting anything. I wonder if you're fighting things maybe with spells. You know, like maybe you run into you find Death Eaters or you find Porkies or you find I don't know, Patronuses or Dementors or like, oh, there's a Dementor attack. People come help, and I don't know. Could be kind of cool though.
Kind of a weird.
Maybe you pick like
How
a side.
weird would that be, dude?
You pick
Someone
a side, and then you
walking
each have
around.
to take over, like, because they have towers, they have gyms in Pokemon.
Yeah.
Maybe they have like towers that you have to like the Death Eaters own or like the Aurors
Mm-hmm.
own. I don't know. I'm on board though. I'm a Harry Potter nerd, so as long as freaking J.K.
I
Rowling's
can
not
see you
involved.
just walking through the middle of the street.
I'll wear my
doing
scarf,
something
my
like
my
this.
Slytherin scarf,
Yeah.
my Slytherin shirt.
You can get
I
your
do not have the
little
robes.
wand and
I
walk
do have
around.
a wand. That's right.
Yeah.
I'll tape it to the back of my phone.
Walk around. Gosh.
Yep. You can actually turn on the flashlight on your phone if you say, "Okay, Google Loomis," which is the spell.
There it is.
The spell from Harry Potter.
Can you really?
Yep.
That's actually pretty.
You can do a
freaking
live
cool.
demonstration. Okay, Google. I hate it. Never works when I want it to work. Loomis. Boom.
That's pretty cool.
Right? I'm
That's
a
pretty
wizard.
cool. So you got your game
You
right
guys
there.
caught me.
You got your game right
Yeah,
there.
it turns on the flashlight.
All right, moving on to something not quite as lighthearted. Is this past weekend? I think it actually happened on Friday. You had Senator Rand Paul was attacked and like beaten while he was mowing his lawn. He has 6 broken ribs, which sucks because if you've ever broken a rib or fractured a rib or anything like that, there's really not much they can do for you. I mean, like they can wrap it, but I guess sometimes they say it's not even good to wrap it. I don't know. I'm not a
I feel
doctor.
like the pressure, because
But,
it could puncture a lung.
You basically can't really do anything other than wait for it to kind of
Let's be
heal
honest,
itself
though, was he really doing
and walk
anything
around.
anyway?
Well, he's a senator. They're not really doing
So they're
much.
not much doing.
But I know I like
No,
Rand
I'm just
Paul.
kidding. It
I
sounds-
think he's pretty good.
Anybody getting attacked?
Yeah, obviously sucks, but like he's got 6 broken ribs, man, and the neighbor said it was over like leaf clippings or something like that.
So wait, so the
Which is
story all we
insane.
know right now is he was outside and he just got attacked
He was outside mowing his lawn.
with a push mower.
This is my mowing lawn thing. He was outside mowing his lawn, and his neighbor came up, which they've been neighbors for a while, came up and just beat him senseless. I don't know if he used a blunt object or not, but I mean, he got 6 broken ribs. I would imagine it's not punching him. He probably came up to him and hit him with
Why
something.
wouldn't he have a gun on him? You know, like whenever I'm mowing the lawn, I make sure to have my AR-15 on me, because
Of course,
it's
in case someone comes up
yeah,
and attacks
and-
you.
chainsaws.
But dude, seriously, like this is crazy,
Yeah,
man.
no, this is
and
nuts.
apparently the neighbor's saying it's not, or it's because of
leaf clippings.
leaf clippings, which is crazy. But the
Is that
reason
better or worse?
the reason his lawyer is saying that is because if it's motivated for political reasonings, it's considered a higher class felony.
Huh?
So you can get more jail
This
time
guy should
for
go
it.
to jail for a long time.
But no, I mean that's just
Who
ridiculous.
just goes up and beats the crap out of someone?
But the reason I really wanted to talk about it is one, because it's absolutely insane, but two, we haven't really heard that much about it. Like I've been looking through different stories and I haven't seen much covering it. And like it happened last Friday, so I wouldn't expect it to be that much in the news now. But over the weekend and on Monday and stuff, you would think that you would see this. Like imagine, so Rand Paul ran for presidential,
Rand Paul.
Yes, Rand Paul ran. Yes, there you go. Ran for president in 2016. He didn't make it that far, but
Got
regardless,
very close.
he's a United States senator. Imagine if Bernie Sanders got beat up by, and it turns out that this guy is a Democrat. He's pretty, he's called on his social media for Trump to be impeached. He said that the Republicans are like the most feared enemy of the United States.
Obviously.
Tons of crazy stuff. But imagine if Bernie Sanders got beat up by someone who's like a hardcore Republican who has spoken out against Republicanism and stuff. Like you have to imagine the media would be covering that like
Probably.
crazy.
Yeah.
And it just drives me insane that they didn't, like, I couldn't really find, I found one article on like the Washington Post and another article, I couldn't remember where it was, but it like wasn't covered that much. And this is a United States senator has 6 broken ribs by some maniac who lives next to him.
I think it's not. It doesn't matter that he's a Democrat. I don't think. I mean, I don't think it's the idea that a Democrat attacked him. It's a crazy person.
I
that
think it
happened to be a
that he
Democrat.
got attacked and no one's covering it all
People
really.
get attacked all the time.
Yeah, United States senators get attacked
Yeah.
all the time and get 6 broken ribs.
When they got shot at, we heard about it. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an escalation, I guess, where
Shot.
I mean, I guess.
I was just reading it, and I didn't really get much. There wasn't much coverage of it, and I just thought in my head, look, if the shoe was on the other foot, this would be covered like crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, people would be talking about it a lot if Bernie Sanders had 6
I don't think Bernie
ribs.
Sanders should be mowing his lawn. I don't think he could make it through a whole lawn mowing session.
Yeah, but he's definitely qualified to be a senator.
Oh yeah. Everybody, yeah.
But he couldn't get through a mowing the lawn session. But anyways, we wanted to talk about it just because obviously Rand Paul, it's important for him to be in the Senate because I think he obviously has some completely different ideas that are traditional Republicanism. So I think it's good that he's in the Senate, and hopefully he recovers well and gets back in there pretty soon.
Yeah, no one deserves to just get beaten up.
Yeah.
What the heck, man?
Not many people.
Except for
no one
Nazis.
deserves, yeah. Kind of moving along with that, more stories in line with stuff that's happening with Republicans. There was a race that was going on with Roy Moore in the Senate for Alabama. We talked about it briefly on a show a while back that he won the Senate primary in Alabama. And so he's come out with, I mean, this just doesn't stop snowballing. You have all the Hollywood people accused of sexual allegations or sexual harassment.
Yeah. No, it's been nuts.
And now it's kind of slowly moving in. We talked to it last episode. When is it going to kind of move into Washington? And it's finally kind of done that now. We'll see if it happens and continues more with other people. But he's been accused of sexually harassing a 14-year-old girl back in 1979. We'll see if it happens. Or I guess 3 more people came out and accused him as well of doing this. And basically, the Republicans in this situation are in a fairly tight spot because they can't replace him with someone else because he's already won the primary. So if he stepped aside, if these allegations became true, the Democrat would be the only person running.
So what?
And then Alabama would have a Democratic Republican.
Who cares?
I agree. I think that if these allegations are true, he should definitely step aside. And some Republicans have called for that.
To the freaking wall.
Yeah, some Republicans have called for that, but we don't know if they're true or not. There's been 4 people in total that have come out against it. That's, it's not the best.
I mean, it's one of those hard things because, yes, it is innocent until proven guilty, but at the same time, it is also, I feel, is really bad to say someone that actually comes forward and says, listen, I was sexually harassed, for you to be like,
it's like you have absolutely every right to be heard.
In the heart, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt over the guy that got accused. And I know that's not right, but I'm just like, if this happened, they went through a traumatic event. And I want to believe that the average person isn't going to falsely accuse someone. I know we live in America, though, so it's probably that happens a lot. Yeah, not a lot, but it happens.
Yeah, it happens.
And but I mean, I don't know,
especially with people in power. So we'll see. I mean, we're definitely going to be covering this story more in depth as stuff comes out because I think it's interesting. And I think the main point why I put it in there is it brings up a question of when do you kind of when does character really matter? Like, when are you willing to sacrifice and say, you know what? I agree with this person's politics, but he shouldn't be running because he's a really crappy person, and I don't support him as a person at all. When does it become a point where somebody does something so egregious that they're not allowed to represent you anymore?
Harassing a 14-year-old.
Harassing a 14-year-old. But you've seen examples of people in power who've done this before who remain in power.
It doesn't matter.
I agree. It doesn't matter.
I don't care if someone else got away with it. If we can get him to not get away with it, it's worth it.
I agree with you on a principle standpoint 100%, but logistically, when is it going to actually happen? Do you know what I mean? Like, when is society going to catch up with it? Because a lot of people,
I think we're catching up.
A lot of people would probably be like, oh, well, I would rather have him in office, even if he did something terrible 30 years ago, than someone who I completely disagree with you. And I think that's wrong. I don't like it. But I mean, we had examples of that with Bill Clinton as president. We've had examples of that.
He didn't harass a 14-year-old, dude.
No,
a minor,
not a 14-year-old, but he still.
And it was
sexually harassed.
Did he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know it seemed consensual with him.
Well, he's the president of the United States hitting on like a 20-year-old intern.
That's way different than someone harassing a 14-year-old.
I mean, a 14-year-old.
I'm sorry.
It's definitely messed up. It's a whole other level. But either way, both are huge moral lapses of judgment in people of political power.
But
so
one
I don't know.
is horrible, illegal. One of them is just bad. It's not illegal what Bill Clinton did.
No, it's not illegal.
That's illegal.
It's just really,
It's just scummy.
True. Yeah.
But, I mean, he's a politician, so I don't think that's the first scummy thing he did.
It's really depressing.
Yeah. But anyway, we can go to the main topic. It's
yeah, there you go. Yeah, so that's going to kind of conclude the stories that we covered this week. And be sure and tell us what you thought in the comment section below. We like to see what you guys read. And we're going to move right into the main topic. All right, guys, we are back, and we're going to move right into the main topic. We have a couple interesting stories to talk about.
Yep.
What I kind of wanted to talk about is the multiple elections that happened over this past weekend, both in New Jersey and in Virginia.
And here in Georgia, a little bit.
And in Georgia, yeah, that's true. I kind of wanted to go through, break them down, dissect them, and then talk about it a little bit. So in New Jersey, you had Governor Chris Christie, who's obviously a Republican, lost his seat to a Democrat. So now
super surprising with like a 15% approval.
Not surprising at all. Chris Christie had said some really stupid things in the past. Yes. It was definitely expected that he lost. So not so much that one, but obviously Democratic. New Jersey is now under control of a Democratic governor, so that's a change. And then Virginia, which was kind of a surprise. Yes. It was a surprise in the sense that it was a tight race, but it was a total surprise in the sense that the Democrat won by like 10%, like a wide margin. Yep. So Ed Gillespie lost by, I think it was like 46% to 55%. It was a huge margin. So Democrats kind of came out in waves in Virginia to vote against Republicans there. Not only did they lose the governorship, but they also lost state legislature seats. I believe that the Republicans had like almost a 60-seat majority, and they're dropped down to 47 now.
Freaking nuts,
is what it was. So that's a big loss for Republicans in Virginia. But I wanted to talk about it a little bit because there's kind of two ends of the spectrum you can line up on. People are saying that, Virginia was slowly moving more Democratic anyway, so it's not that big of a loss, so Republicans shouldn't be concerned. Or you can line up on the side where this was a big kind of cry, outrage against Trump. You line up on that side of the fence. And I think it's kind of in the middle. I think, yes, it's obvious that Virginia is kind of moving more Democratic. If you just look at it demographically, there's a lot more minorities and stuff moving into Northern Virginia, which is where a lot of the state legislature seats swung, which took place. But obviously, this is definitely a referendum on, I think, almost Trumpism, or whatever you want to call it.
Trumpism.
Trumpism, that works. If you look at it, because Trump lost the state of Virginia, right, in the 2016 election by 5%. Ed Gillespie lost it by 10%, so that's a pretty wide margin. Ed Gillespie wasn't really that favorable of a Republican. He was pretty moderate on most issues, and then he kind of adopted Trump's philosophy, you could say, a lot kind of towards the end. But I think it's interesting. Do you think it's more of a reaction against Trump? Or my personal theory is that Trump didn't really win the election because he was Trump. And I think we both have said this. He won the election because Hillary was his opponent, and Hillary is an awful opponent. So without Hillary on the ticket, you have just a blah, blah Republican, and then this Democrat who apparently, people like. He ran more of a moderate campaign is what I've heard, more of a Joe Biden approach. And people voted more for him, and the Republicans didn't really show up. Yeah. Whereas in the 2016 election, Democrats didn't really show up for Hillary.
Yeah. I definitely lean more on the idea that it's definitely a little bit of both, because you have seen it go from a red state to a purple state to now it's probably going to stay blue for a while.
For a little while, yeah.
Yeah. I can't see it swinging back. But and also I do think part of it has to be the fact that there was such a low turnout. And I think a lot of Democrats felt like they didn't need to vote
for Hillary in 2016 because everyone was saying
it was pretty much guaranteed that Hillary was going to win. No one thought Trump was going to win.
Absolutely, man. We'll kind of bring this up because it's this past week was a year of Trump getting elected. Yep. But the New York Times had on election day morning 99% favorable of Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, super good news source.
Yeah, dude, a lot. If you're a Democrat but you're not super in favor of Hillary Clinton, you're like, maybe I'll stay home because she's going to win anyways.
And the lines are long.
It's not really that important.
Yeah, especially a lot of states too, where your vote really doesn't matter in the sense, like if you're in California, your vote doesn't matter. The state's going to the Democrat. Anyways. It doesn't freaking matter. Yeah. Virginia, again, it does matter, and you did see him win. But now it's interesting to see more people come out against who was it?
Ed Gillespie.
Ed Gillespie. I think it's people wanting to turn up now, and I do think there is. Trump's approval ratings keep tanking, so I do think there are more and more people that are like, okay, I think there's a lot of people that maybe didn't vote against him, but maybe like, okay, they wanted to kind of see. Yeah. They're not on board with the way he's been putting it. Yeah. And so like, okay, we need more Democrats. And I do think that we're going to see this. I think we're going to see this in a lot more states. I think we're going to see a lot more states become more Democratic before there's in the midterms and whatever. I think there's going to be a big push to get out and vote for one.
Yeah.
I
think Democrats are going to realize that they need to get out there and vote, especially when they saw what happened with Hillary Clinton. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that nowadays people are more politically engaged than before, or at least you hear about it more.
Yeah.
And again, you can kind of, there's two thoughts on that. Like, okay, maybe people are getting overexposed to where they're like, screw it, I don't care, whatever.
Yeah.
Or they think, okay, maybe I have a voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was super fascinating, and it was kind of crazy the fact that they lost so many seats. And was it in Virginia that they had the openly trans person win?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the first, what I've heard is the first openly trans person win for a legislative seat, which is kind of cool. I mean, it doesn't, again, like if they have good policy.
Don't care what they are,
yeah, exactly.
If they have good ideas.
And from what it's kind of sounded like is that the opponent ran on anti-her, and she ran on I have good ideas, or I have ideas.
No, but I definitely thought it was interesting because it shows kind of the people of Virginia what they're saying. You know what I mean? Like this guy's main platform, and he was the incumbent. He'd won on this before, obviously.
They'd been 26 years or so, had been Republican.
He'd been in for a really long time, and one of his major stances was against like kind of the LGBT.
He was
community,
he was a
whatever.
very staunch Trump supporter as well.
Yeah, and which Trump isn't even against LGBT, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, but this person ran as obviously against all those things.
And ideas, and she wanted to push. I think it was schools was a big thing for her. It's like better schools, and like she actually had
more money.
Like it's like what I think could have beaten Trump is if Hillary actually had ideas. Like, she didn't run on anything super exciting or anything. It was mostly like, hey, I'm not Trump. It was
more the status quo.
And I'll keep doing what Obama did.
Yeah.
And it's like,
people didn't really, people weren't super jazzed about that. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're going to keep seeing this.
So what do you think, 1 year for Trump happened this past weekend. Yep. What do you think, how is he sitting? What do you think is going to happen in 2020? And I don't know, how's he done so far?
I still think it's too early.
Too early to tell?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think we're worse off, but I don't know if necessarily Trump's fault. I think we would have been worse off regardless. Because I think if we did see Hillary win, I don't think you would have seen people on the right take it well. Yeah. At all. And so I do think we'd still be. I think that a lot of it was kind of out of his control. And I do just think that we kind of nothing's changed so far.
I agree.
There literally hasn't really been anything happening. We thought there'd be big changes. We thought he'd disrupt stuff. And
you would think with Republicans winning the White House, the Senate, and the House that something would change. But no, Republicans can't do that. But no, I think it's been an interesting year. That's for sure. Yeah. Time has flown by, dude. I remember when we were watching election night just a year ago. I'm like, wow, this is.
I still remember the day after election night. It was one of the greatest. I will never forget that day. I lived was very liberal, very left.
Yes.
And I was just walking around. People were literally crying. I got an email from school offering safe space for like people that were
counseling sessions and all this kind of stuff, man.
Glorious. I'm like, you guys are so ridiculous. And I think a lot of what has happened is kind of what we said, where people thought he'd like burn up America and that we would be gone and nuked and we'd be
and everything's totally fine.
Right. It's like realize that there's checks and balances. The system has been holding.
Yeah.
He can't do a lot of what he said he was going to do, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of been like, he's basically what we kind of thought nothing was going to happen. Because I don't think a lot of people want what he actually said. They just didn't want Hillary.
They didn't want Hillary, yeah.
And so we're kind of in a stalemate.
I think that's a lot of people. Yeah, I think it's interesting because he has his steady base, right, of like 33 to 35% of the population is his approval rating. They're all deplorables. Yeah. But that's kind of his base. Yeah. But that's not going to be enough to win him re-election in any capacity at all, obviously. But it's also kind of puts Republicans in trouble a little bit, and it's not okay to think that, Republicans are doing fine. They can keep this up and do well in 2018 and 2020 because Trump's approval ratings are historically low for a president in their first term in year one.
Do we trust the approval ratings, though?
I mean,
I tend to say no.
You tend to say I tend to go with them.
You like the polls and believe in the polls.
I don't believe them all the time, but I think they're a basis point to jump off of. And when a president has a approval rating of in the mid to low 30s, that doesn't seem, even if it's 2 or 3% off, it's still not a good thing.
Yeah, but look at, I don't know. It's just like saying, well, the polls are pretty much right. Like like you said, there was a 99% that Hillary was going to win.
Well, that was
they
just
were off
New York
by
Times.
99%.
New York Times sucks.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. The approval rating to me doesn't really. Like
I think it's representative of what the American people typically think. I think if you grab
I think it's all
three people, one out of them
if you go to the middle of the country, you're going to find a way higher one, and if you go to California, you're going to find a way lower one.
But do you think there's that many Republicans that are that jazzed about Trump? I mean, you talk to people.
There's a lot of people that are just like, okay, nothing's happened and it hasn't gotten worse. I mean, there's a lot of people that think that.
But that's not good enough. You know what I mean? Like
it is good enough.
Well, but we've proven that just saying the other side sucks and they're doing a bad job will get you in office. The Republicans did that the entire time Obama was in, saying he's doing a terrible job. Elect us, we'll change it. We elected them, nothing happened. The Democrats can do the exact same strategy, and it will just be this pendulum that changes.
That's America.
Yeah, but I think that's
how it works.
I agree, but I'm just saying that's a problem right now for Republicans is they haven't done anything.
Yeah, but I mean, if you thought it was getting worse over Obama, right? If you thought he was doing things that were bad for the country, and now Trump's come in and he hasn't kept doing those things, I mean, it's not getting worse. Well, so that's an improvement.
That's what I'm saying. It's not going to change his base, but it's going to change the people who decide elections, which are the independents, the people in the middle who kind of swing back and forth. I think that's going to change him. I think we're going to see it hurt. In 2018 will be interesting because there's a lot more Democratic seats up than Republican seats. Mm-hmm. So if Republicans were actually doing something and putting in popular legislation, it could be sweeping victory for the Republicans. But the fact that they've sucked and they haven't done anything or gotten anything done at all, which isn't Trump's fault, it's Congress's fault, 100%.
It's Trump's fault.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he tweets out crazy things all the time, but Congress, bottom line, hasn't drafted any legislation. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that Democrats are going to do much better than people kind of anticipated a year ago from now, when people were saying, you know, at least things are different now. There's a Republican-controlled Congress and White House. Maybe things will change. We've seen that nothing's really changed. The tax cut's been introduced, but it hasn't gone anywhere yet.
Get pulled back before it's even,
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I just thought it was kind of an interesting, fun conversation to see where Trump is now, how fast time has flown, and just kind of where we are now, what's going to happen in the future, and just the craziness that 2017 has been so far.
It's been nuts.
It's been nuts.
Yes.
But what do you
guys so one of the crazy things that happened this past week, speaking of 2017, is kind of like the staple of 2017. There was the Texas shooting where it left 26 people dead, many others injured, and it was what, 30?
Yeah, whatever. It was about 26 people injured.
It was absolutely nuts. Small little town.
It feels like almost every week. And now you still look at statistics and you look at the amount of people dead by mass shootings, and it's very minute. It's very small. But when this kind of stuff happens week after week
when it's not surprising or it doesn't shock you,
it doesn't feel that small anymore. You know what I mean? To the average person. And it honestly, like, statistics are more important than what people feel any day. I 100% believe that. But there's a problem.
Yes.
There's a problem when these shootings, when you have the Las Vegas shooting, and then you have the guy in New York running people over in cars, and then you have I think it's the most deadly church shooting that's ever happened in the United States. And it's the most deadly
shooting in Texas.
In Texas, and I think it was the 6th most deadly mass shooting ever to take place in the United States. When you have this stuff happening within the course of like a month or a month and a week, that's a problem, and it's bad, and it's not good for the American psyche at all.
No, which is already not
that great.
But I don't want to dwell on that. We've talked about the basic stuff of shooting, but this one actually brought up I think an interesting conversation, and honestly has started my head to turn in how, like, ways that I might need to go about changing the way I think about this, because the fact of the matter is we've always said, like, when people propose what they say common sense gun legislation, my go-to has always been, we already have that. We already have common sense. We already have these laws that protect us. We already have the background checks. You're not going to go to a gun show and not have a background check. You're not going to order it off the internet in the internet loophole and get a gun without a background check. I mean, we have laws in place to protect us. The problem is, with this shooting specifically that came to light, is the fact that this guy, by all of the law's accounts, should not have been able to buy a gun legally, and was, because the laws were not being enforced.
Yeah.
He was a domestic abuser that was discharged from the military because of it, and that falls under the line of, you're not allowed to have a gun.
Because he's cracked the skull of his 12-year-old kid.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy's a freaking piece of human
garbage.
Now
what was it, the Air Force?
Yeah,
the Air Force has come out and said, we're going to do an investigation, figure out who the heck messed up and reprimand them or whatever, but we're sorry we messed up. It's like, okay, so this argument that I've constantly had is the fact that we already have the laws in place, and it's not a law thing, so we're not going to fix this with new laws. We need to fix it with mental health. Like, all right, if the argument is that guns. All right, guns aren't evil, but saying we have laws in place that protect us, right?
From these certain
if
things.
these laws aren't being enforced, what is protecting us?
Yeah.
And what's the next step now? The fact of the matter is the fact that we have laws in place that are not being enforced. And I guarantee you this is not the only time this has happened.
Yeah.
There's probably other people, and I'm sure the vast majority of people are not going to go shooting people.
Yeah.
But there's definitely other people that legally would be allowed to go get a gun that shouldn't be able to. From negligence, from lack of someone
legally
doing
shouldn't
their
be
job.
able to get a
but they
gun,
would.
But they have
no, like they could walk in and get a gun, right? But they should not be able to.
Yeah, legally.
And so, what is the next step? What do you think? Like, this is where it's kind of got my brain turning. I'm like, well, what do we do? Because the argument can no longer be the fact of the matter is that don't worry, we already have laws, we already have background checks in place. The background checks are not sufficient if the felonies are not being put in there to block them.
Because that's essentially what happened, right? He was dishonorably discharged from the Air Force, and then this conduct of what would be assault or assault of a child, of a minor, was domestic abuse. Domestic abuse was not put in under his profile, so he bought it from, I think, Academy Sports. When they ran the background check, it showed up as clear, like he's fine to buy a gun. So obviously Academy's going to sell it to him. Why not?
It's not their fault, and because it's 100%, they did their job.
Absolutely, it's 100% on the Air Force for not putting in the charges that he was charged with and tried from a court in the Air Force. He actually served time, 12 months, for what he did. And then he came out of it with nothing on his record. So it's interesting because you can't just say that, you can't do anything about it because the law is already in the book. But to an extent, I feel like you have to have, harsher punishments. We've kind of talked about for the person who did not, if you're someone in the Air Force or in a legal department and there's someone who's committed a crime and you don't put that on their record and then that person goes out and shoots and kills 26 people, there needs to be harsh punishments. You don't just get fired. Like, you get charged. You get charged with maybe I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
But you get charged with something to incentivize this kind of activity from not happening at all. It can't be something where, it's 5 o'clock now, I don't have time to put in this person's charges. Right. That can't be happening. And this, like we said, we don't have any proof to say that this was the only time it happened, but it's pretty likely that this is not the only time it's happened.
You've met people, we've met people. Everyone has that one person at work that's lazy, and you got to imagine that's everywhere.
Absolutely, and that needs to be cracked down with. Now, the question is it cracked down with new legislation? Like, I don't think putting in any new legislation that bans 40-round magazines is going to do anything about this at all. You know what I mean? But maybe putting in legislation that has harsher punishments on people who don't do their job already, because it's already what the person did in the Air Force is already illegal for him to not do that, right? But there needs to be some kind of higher crime of not doing that to incentivize someone to really be like, wait, did I do that? I don't know. Let me double check this. Because if I don't, not only am I going to get fired, I'm going to get freaking thrown in prison if I don't make sure that this stuff is right.
Right.
So I don't know exactly what the sentencing is for this kind of conduct. I'm not an expert on it, but in order to fix it, I feel like you would almost have to up that so that, people are really like on the ball knowing that, hey, this is something, we can't let this slip through the cracks at all in any way possible. Because if that had shown up on his background when Academy ran the background check, he wouldn't have been able to get a gun.
Yep.
And maybe this could have been avoided.
Which is what we've always, that's the law that would have been enforced. Had it been enforced, that would have stopped this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work if there's no background check.
Right.
There's no background information.
Exactly.
And I totally think that. But it's weird to me that we're like, okay, so we're gonna pass legislation to make sure that people make sure people do their job and do the law.
Yeah,
because
it's already legislation that they have to do it. So how do you fix it?
It's almost a catch-22 because you're like, we already have it on the books, but like, what's the point of putting more on the books if what we have isn't even being enforced?
Yeah.
And that's the scary part. And honestly, the only clear solution, if laws aren't being enforced, is to get rid of all guns. Like, if you got rid of all guns, it wouldn't matter if the laws are being enforced or not, because they wouldn't be there there wouldn't be guns to buy. Again, that can't happen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're never going to get 130 in this country.
There definitely is something, because this was a problem. This is a mistake. We can learn from mistakes. But what we learn, I think, is super important. And it's sad because you are just seeing people jump on it and saying, okay, assault weapons banned. And I don't think that's the solution. No. And I think this is a time where we can actually have a real discussion, because I really do think sensible people that are pro-gun are going to look at this and be like, this is a problem
because
I believe in the laws protecting us. And if they aren't being enforced, I don't feel protected. I'm like, holy crap, what I thought was my safety net of, okay, that crazy person, or, oh, hey, if you do a felony, if you're caught with a felony, you're not going to get a gun. They're not going to have guns unless they get it illegal. But legally, they're not going to get guns. But now, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that background's going to be real.
I mean, I like the laws that are in place. Like, people talk about,
when they're enforced.
You're a gun owner, you don't believe in gun control. I absolutely believe in a level of gun control. Of gun control. Gun controls or certain background checks are 100% great. If you have a felony, you shouldn't be able to get a gun. I'm 100% on board with that. I know firsthand how dangerous guns can be because I handle them all the time.
You probably shot yourself because they just go off.
I know how dangerous they can be. I absolutely don't want them in the hands of the wrong people. But it's a super hard thing because then they'll be like, oh, so you want new legislation? And it's like, I mean, I want harsher punishments, but I'm not on board for banning suppressors. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
what if he had used a suppressor, Jared?
What if he had? But I think it's important to kind of talk about is so many people have politicized this instantly. Like we talked about, Las Vegas politicized instantly. Then the attack in New York, it was politicized instantly by a lot of Republicans. Now the Democrats who were criticizing them have instantly politicized it right away. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not a fan of politicizing it instantly. This happened a little while ago. I'm fine with talking about it. But I have a serious problem with people just jumping on the side of, oh, gun control needs to instantly happen.
And that there's no issue. Like, that's the other side, right? A lot of people are saying, well, it's not a problem. This is just something that happens. Okay, it's just one of we have for guns, you're going to have shootings. It's like, there's definitely a middle ground. You can't look at this and say it's okay. It's okay that this guy had a gun. Like, that's a problem. A lot of times you've seen that they got the gun from their parents. And that's really hard to enforce. How would you enforce that? But this is an instance of him literally going out and purchasing a gun legally when he should not have been allowed to do that.
So, I agree. The problem with this one, if the laws had been enforced the way that they are, which I think they're good, the way that they are, this could have been prevented.
Or mitigated.
Mitigated, absolutely. The argument that this stuff is just going to happen because people are evil is valid to an extent, because like we saw with the guy in Las Vegas, the worst shooting that's happened in American history.
Charge battery soon.
Okay, I'm just going to keep talking.
Keep going.
The worst mass shooting that's happened in American history happened by a guy who had a completely clean record. He could have bought a gun no matter what the gun laws were, unless there were just no guns in the world at all. So, to an extent, this stuff is going to happen because human nature is crappy. Humans are naturally violent. But that argument isn't really valid here because there were laws already on the book that weren't enforced, and that's what makes this so frustrating. And then people to jump for gun control instantly is a problem because if you look at the incredibly brave people who reacted to this shooting, there were two people. There was one who heard the shooting, ran back inside. He didn't even put shoes on because he didn't have time. He grabbed his AR-15. He was loading his magazines. He ran out and he actually shot at the perpetrator, injured him,
and made him drop his gun.
Made him drop his gun. Probably saved lives in the process. 100%. Absolutely. And that was a good guy with the gun. And then another guy comes up in a car, drive up, and he was like, "Hey man, this guy just shot up a church. We need to chase after him." And they chase after him until
it was like the Wild West, man. Only in Texas.
Only in Texas, right? This is a perfect Texas, not a perfect Texas. This is a Texas story. But it's interesting it's very important to note of this that a good guy with a gun prevented this horrible piece of trash person from killing even more people. And that's important because so many people, it's not really talked about how many lives are saved every single year from a good person with a gun.
Right.
And I can tell you right now, it's substantially more than the amount of people who are killed. Even if you factor in suicides, it's upward of 200,000 people a year use a firearm to protect themselves.
That's awesome.
From danger. Whereas, if you talk about gun deaths per year, it's about 11,000.
Was it 8 million a year? I think I said. What was it? 8 million a day.
11 million a day.
11 million gun deaths a day.
Right there. But so I think this is an interesting story. It's a tough situation because like we talked about, it was already a law, and how do you really fix something? If the laws aren't enforced, how can you trust the government to pass more legislation that they then are going to
may or may not be enforced? Like,
so
laws need to be enforced.
Obviously, and you would think that the government could at least enforce the laws that are already passed.
No, why would you think that?
Absolutely, I know.
It's like, so if we enforce what we have and it doesn't work, sure, then we can talk about more. But if we're not even seeing what's on the books working,
Yeah.
If it's not being enforced.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we don't pass more until we get that stuff being enforced.
And there's no reason to create some brand new legislation about guns because
there is.
Because the legislation that was already there, if it were enforced, would have worked.
Been enough.
So, anyways, I think we've kind of hammered that point in because I don't want you to just fall prey if you hear about new legislation needs to be passed. Actually, know the facts, know the situation of what took place, formulate your own opinion. That's how responsible, smart citizens conduct.
And there are just a few of us left.
Yeah, there's just a few of us left. Saying us like we're one of them.
Yeah, we're totally one of them. We're the head honchos.
There you go. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up our main topic this week, and we're going to jump right into what triggered us. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this show up as we always do in our final segment with the What Triggered Us This Week. This, of course, is where we replace all rational and logical thinking with only emotion. It's personally my favorite part of the show. Yep. Seth, what triggered you, man?
Actually, what immediately shot to the top of my Christmas list, I'll be honest.
There you go.
So USA Today.
Yes.
Just scholars.
Yes, and scholars in firearms.
I believe them blindly.
Yeah, good, good.
They put out this video, probably trying to educate. I mean, the intent might have been good.
Well, because the intent was about the weapon that was used by the shooter in Texas, which is a Ruger 5.56, which is convenient because you have one of those.
That's my exact AR-15, so churches, watch out.
So you can get one of these.
It could, yes. No, this attachment would work on my gun.
Absolutely.
So if you watch the video, as you can see, they're running through the attachments on the gun.
Yes.
Talking about the buttstock, they're talking about the iron sights, the heat guard.
Pretty normal things.
Yeah, things that are on AR-15.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then they get kind of crazy, like a 100-round magazine. Mm-hmm. Yes, it can,
not that many people have them, but sure.
Undermounted shotgun is a thing.
It's a thing, not that common.
It's usually
a
kill streak, but it's not usually just on a gun. But then it goes, yes, they clearly Xbox fanboys.
They've been playing some Gears of War.
They've been playing Gears of War.
Absolutely.
Because they go on to show the most common attachment, the chainsaw bayonet.
I mean, who doesn't have one of these?
Exactly. It's pretty much, it's as easy to get, according to Obama, probably, as a book.
As a book.
And a Glock. You can probably get a Glock and a chainsaw bayonet. Does the chainsaw bayonet work on the Glock?
Yeah.
Only science can tell.
We're not
but no, yeah. So the chainsaw bayonet. This is again where it's like I want to have a discussion with you guys, but you're literally just dumb and don't know what you're talking about and spreading false information. And I struggle to even want to have a conversation because it's like if you're even gonna put this out, like you can't find one instance of this being a thing. A chainsaw bayonet. Like, unless you're playing Gears of War, it doesn't exist.
Dude, like,
and I love rodeo runs. And I love chainsawing people in half in the game. And would I get it if I could? Maybe. No, I'm just kidding. But it's absolutely ridiculous. And just, it's like, there are legit, you could say, criticisms of the AR-15, right? There are things you could maybe talk about. But to go to the nth degree and put a chainsaw
destroys your
bayonet.
argument. It completely destroys it. It's like that CNN video of showing what a bump stock is, and it has a freaking undermount grenade launcher on there. Like, we're pretty well versed in guns. We look at it. We look at common attachments for guns. Not ever have I seen a chainsaw bayonet attached to one.
You're totally gonna see that come out now. They're gonna be like, "Hey, popularized by USA Today."
It's totally great because the one thing you want on a gun to make it even lighter and more practical is a 10-pound chainsaw on the front of it.
Thought.
Okay, I'm
ready.
What
was Rand Paul doing when he was attacked?
Mowing his lawn.
Mowing his lawn. He had a chainsaw
on his lawnmower.
He could be chainsawing, and then he has an AR-15 in case someone attacks you.
That's a solid idea, man.
All right, there is a market.
This
TM, trademarked, can't take this. TM, trademark, copyright, all those words. There you go.
It's great
because a lot of attacks happen while you're doing your lawn. You know?
Exactly, and if you run out of ammo,
it's just ridiculous. USA Today, get your crap together.
And I love seeing people who know. It's clear that they know nothing about firearms. Well, yeah,
when we saw the AR-15 video, that was clearly a 12-gauge shotgun. Yes, like in this video of the AR-15, they're literally pumping a shotgun. It's like I can't. There's no bridge.
We need to make a montage of all of these videos and put it together.
The double shot scope.
The double shot scope, the shotgun that's not a shotgun, the bump stock with a grenade launcher on it,
and the chainsaw bayonet to round it off.
Dude, the high velocity.
Oh my god.
Stock, everything, man. Throw it all in there.
The simple way to change a gun from semi-automatic to fully automatic.
Stick the bull
fully semi-automatic.
Fully semi-automatic. Yes.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, what about you? What triggered you this week?
Yeah. So no, this was a pretty interesting interesting video. So this guy named Steven Crowder, if you've heard of him, he has a pretty big YouTube channel. He has this kind of series of videos, which I think is definitely a good idea in practice, where he kind of goes out with a controversial position. One was, free speech was one, not really controversial. It shouldn't be controversial.
It is controversial nowadays.
Second Amendment also shouldn't really be controversial. Anyways, he comes out and he'll be like, hey, I'm pro free speech, or I don't think hate speech is a thing. Change my mind. I'm pro Second Amendment. Change my mind. His latest one, this third one, was I'm pro life. Change my mind. It was a longer video. It's
so
about
he's wanting to have a conversation.
Yeah,
he's inviting opposition to be like, let's talk about this.
He walks around a city with a big sign on him saying, I'm pro life. Change my mind. I don't think anyone approached him there, so he kind of set up a booth, and then someone talked to him. But anyways, I think it's a great idea. It's an interesting video. It's about an hour long. There's obviously critiques you could have. He critiques himself saying, I should have said this in this situation. But I think it's an interesting conversation nonetheless. Just if you're not really sure where you line up on the abortion, if you're pro-choice, if you're pro-life issue, watch this video and kind of try and keep an open mind about it, because while I think that a lot of the arguments brought up on both sides are pretty typical arguments brought up by pro-lifers and also people who are pro-choice. And there's a really interesting part of the video that I really wanted to highlight that's in the beginning of the video. You can watch the links in the description below. But he kind of brings out a chart of the progression of a human baby or human fetus, of where it is in each stage, and he talks about, okay, when is it okay to terminate this life? And if you haven't really looked at that and thought about it, then I think it's definitely important, because if you're going to be pro-choice and you're fine with that, you need to look at that, see where the development is, and be perfectly fine with terminating that life at that stage, if you're okay with it. Because you can see in the video when he pulls it out, she's very uncomfortable and says, well, this is just designed to show me where it is to look at a life and try and box me in a corner and say it's not okay to terminate this life. And it's well, yeah, but that's what's actually happening in the womb of a mother. So anyways, I thought it was definitely an interesting video. I kind of wanted to give a shout out to that series because I like the idea of two people who completely disagree on something sitting down and having a reasonable conversation without yelling, without people getting triggered.
Right.
And it's a pretty good conversation for the most part. I like the video. Go check it out if you're kind of on the fence about abortion, or if you want to challenge your idea, which I think is a good thing to do all the time. Challenge your ideas to either possibly change them or solidify what you already believe in the first place. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it.
I watched.
It recently came out like a day ago. The Second Amendment.
Yeah, and so I like the idea. I think it's a great. I think more people. We would only benefit society if more people did this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sat down, open for their minds to be changed. Personally, I've watched Crowder for years. I feel like I know Crowder. He wasn't doing this to actually change his mind. Obviously, I don't think there's anything anyone could have ever said to change his mind. He's very stuck in his beliefs.
He's got pretty solidified
But he can defend
already.
his beliefs. I'm not going to say that, but I'm saying he's not known to
switch up what he's really thinking.
Not only switch up in a bad way. I don't think switch up is bad. I think you can definitely learn and change. Yeah. He's not going to. So I do think that he's being a little bit disingenuous because he's not going to change his mind. But the idea of having a conversation and being completely vulnerable and being like, listen, I just want to see what you have to say and see if I can, that's awesome. And I think that's awesome. And I do wish more people would do this. And I think we see nowadays so quickly, people are like, oh, you're saying something I don't like, shut you down. Yeah. Or I don't want to have a conversation, block you. Like on social media, you see people even blocked all the time. Yeah. And it's like, we need to have these conversations because it's not a one's right, one's wrong, and there's a median I think that we can find. And I think in pretty much everything there is a middle ground that you take a little bit from both sides, because usually, I mean, reasonable people, whether or not whatever they usually have rational arguments that they
absolutely,
and so there's usually a middle ground that two rational people can come to in a civilized way. Yeah. Unfortunately, we're the loudest people are the most uncivilized, so we don't really see that.
No, absolutely. Like you said, I think it was great. And just to bring up the last thing, we talked about this before. Dennis Prager and this other guy, Howard Zinn. Howard Zinn, yes. They have a great debate talking about things, and they both have very
So Dennis Prager is a super conservative Jewish.
He's a Republican. He's a conservative Jew. Yeah, he's a Republican.
Yeah, like super on the right.
He has PragerU, if you've ever heard of it. Great kind of YouTube channel that does a lot of good.
And then you had Howard Zinn, who is well known as he's a professor,
much more liberal, progressive,
very liberal, very progressive, verges on. I think he classifies himself as Marxist. I think.
Possibly,
But anyway, completely opposite spectrum. But they have there's videos you can look it up. Just do like Prager Dennis Prager
versus
debates
Howard Zinn. Yeah, absolutely.
And they've done a couple, and they're so good. And I'm just like, I love it because they're very well informed on their subject. They both very much believe what they believe, and they let each other talk.
It's like, why can't we have conversations like that?
Exactly.
Nowadays?
They're super fascinating, and I just love absorbing the information from them. And it's like they're both willing to die on their hill because they both believe what they believe,
and they both have good points to back it up. Like, I pretty much disagree with most of everything Howard Zinn said, but I can almost see how people believe it. You know what I mean?
Just admire the fact that he's like, this is what I think,
and he truly believes it, and he's consistent and doesn't flip flop back and forth.
And if they ask him, he's like, yes. Like, that's what I believe. And it sounds kind of crazy sometimes, some of the things he says. I'm like, all right, I would totally not say that. But he's like...
But
nope,
he believes it, and that's fine. It's America. You believe whatever you want.
Exactly.
And it's great
a lot of times you'll see when it's like, oh, the abortion debate, you'll be like, well, you don't think it's a child. And then they'll pivot, and they'll talk about something else. Yeah. Where... If it was something, he'd be like, no, this is what I think. Yeah. And I'm like, he was more like, well, I'm sorry if you don't think that. This is what I think. And I can totally respect that. And you can have a conversation with someone who's being honest with you.
Absolutely.
And I think that's so
it's missed nowadays, in kind of society nowadays.
Yeah,
because
it's about tearing the other person down. It's about winning.
It's about getting that soundbite, that 15-second clip that goes viral. And it's just pretty toxic. Yep. But anyways, I thought that was definitely interesting. Go check it out if you want. Go check out what you talk about with the USA Today video. Please watch it if you've never seen it because it's amazing.
And if you find one, I'm gonna pre.
Let us know so we can.
I got some palm fronds that need to be, and some houses that need to be
That's some tactical stuff right there.
Tactical.
I will say so myself. It sure is. But guys,
Can I silence the chainsaw?
Ooh, now that's some innovation that people need to be thinking of. That's a whole market. Capitalism.
Silenced chainsaw AR-15s.
Imagine if he had a suppressor on his chainsaw.
Dude.
Could have been horrible.
Right?
Yeah. What if on the hypothetical chainsaw that he never had. Imagine if it was suppressed, though. Yes. All right, guys. That is going to wrap up this week's Peanut Gallery podcast. As always, comment in the comment section below. We like to see what you guys have to say. Tell us what you liked or didn't like about this video. Be sure and follow us on Instagram. We post pictures up there pretty regularly. Comment on there. Get in the discussion about that. We have our podcast that comes out on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud. Anywhere podcast services are offered. Be sure and check us out there. Leave us a like and a review. That helps kind of boost our ratings where you can find us. As always, guys, remember, stay informed, and we will see you next week.